I'm here with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great.
Right on. So, are you excited to actually get to come into Big 12 Media Days?
I am.
Okay.
You know, the chance to be able to connect. Last year was just so hard, just being on the outside and not being able to do that. And so things like this right here, I miss, and it's good to be. You know, our masks are off, right? We're able to be face to face and be able to see reactions and just all of it. So I never knew how much I missed that, but I missed it.
No, but it feels like you like these opportunities to really not talk about yourself, but talk about your team, talk about football. And that's kind of what I want to get into, because when I hear you talk about scheme and I hear you talk about defending other offenses, I learned something. Where does that want to teach come from?
I don't know. I've always been that way. You know, when I was a player, I was a coach, and so I never really played. I would always be injured, and so I remember being in California. So the school I went to was California Lutheran University. So I would always drive. I'd go to USC, and Ed Ogeron was there, and I meet with him. And Dave Dornan was the defensive GA, and he would give me some VHS tapes to go study and look back. And then I go to UCLA. And Jason Tarver was the defensive GA there, and I'd go visit with Jason, and I'd go all over. I went to LSU for a week, stayed on someone's couch, and then drive up to Washington, to Arizona State, to Arizona, and just meet with coaches. And so just all of that knowledge coming back, what you're trying to do is really make connections. And so when you hear questions, you know, it's a specific question, but you can see, you know, hey, this question's being asked because they saw this, and then you can see where that connects to other pieces, and then you can kind of build that up and bring it up to the surface. And so I've always enjoyed that, or I've always seen it that way.
So one of the stops that you made along the way is at Delta State, where your defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts, was your boss at the time. What are some of the ways in which you have incorporated really what I think is a gritty and grimy philosophy, my parents from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, into this Big 12 Power 5 way of football, all the way back to LSU and winning a national championship?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that question. So, like, I met Ron when I was at Cal Lutheran. And so I think it was like 1997, 98 maybe. There's a guy that was in San Diego. He's still in San Diego. He's Poway. His name is Bill Williams. And so he would coach coaches. So you would go bring Bill in, and he would clinic for a day or two and the whole thing. And anyways, I wanted to learn. So I would, like these guys here, I'd have the camera. I would be filming, or I would be grabbing the guys like burritos and stuff, or I think they're still filming me like blocking and, you know, being the demo, which I hope none of that is around anymore. And so, like, I would do all that stuff just to learn, you know. And so one of the guys that Bill was clinicking for was Ron. And this was like 1998. So Ron was like a high school coach at that time. And so I remember meeting Ron at that point and just kind of staying in touch with him. He tried to hire me to go to Tusculum College. And then when I was a defensive GA at Texas Tech, I was headed to Houston with Art Briles, and Manny Matsakis was on our staff and was going to be the head coach at Texas State. And I recommended Ron to be Manny's DC, so Ron went to Texas State. So we've been kind of communicating ever since, you know, that Bill Williams time. But we both believe in tough defense. We both believe in fundamentals and setting edges. We both believe in, sophisticated pressure. And so not pressure for pressure's sake. You know, I look at, I think people are like this too. I think there's sometimes where, you know, you get to a point where you just kind of unleash on people, right? If there's an argument or whatever it is, and I'm just going to lose it on a bunch of people. And there's just so many unintended consequences when that happens, as opposed to say, you know, what's the real problem? Let's get to the heart of it, and let's just address that. I would look at that from a pressure philosophy of, like, you know, we can send 6 or 7 guys and attack something, but there's so much unintended consequences that could be left in that wake, right? It's such a all or nothing proposition. Instead, right, let's send 4 guys, but let's be real specific about how we're doing it and why we're doing it, right, to get right to the heart of the matter, or i.e. the weakness of the protection. And so I think, Ron's a believer in that, and I think has been at the forefront of that. And so excited for our defense this year with Ron at the helm.
Oh man, like, so am I, in that I come up an Oklahoma fan, right? I'm from the state of Oklahoma. So watching that LSU defense and then watching the Baylor defense and seeing both of those defenses be able to attack what has been the class of the conference for a very long time, you can see that philosophy playing out, and you can see you guys want to really go at something in particular. I wonder, is it always hard or is it easy to teach your kids to see the game the way that you need them to see it?
It's a great question. I think it takes time. I think it takes not just getting the information right, but getting the learning right. And so I think as coaches, right, we need to be held to a high standard of making sure that whatever we're talking about, that we've worked out all of the connections like we talked about earlier. Right, and so that we have the answers that we're going to get, and then we outline it in such a way that when it's introduced to our players, they're seeing it drawn, they're seeing it on video. We're doing a walkthrough with it. We're doing an individual period where we're drilling a part of it. We're doing it in a half unit section where they're working just with the front or just with the back end. Then they're seeing it in 9-on-7, in 7-on-7. Then we finally get to team and they see it in team. And then after that practice, we revisit it, and whether it's text messages on a phone of like, hey, this is what we could have done better, this is what we did good. And I think if you take that type of progression, right, and it's not about just the information, but getting the learning right, right, and really in the meeting, getting the learning right is, hey, tell me what you think we're calling this for. What is this for? Your job is to play the B gap. How are you going to do that? And having the player say it back, right? And not just the nodding of the head and just let's move on to the next thing. But you get the learning right and you go through the progression, then they'll start to see it the way that we see it.
See, you're teaching it the way I would teach language. Background as an English teacher. I love that. We're reinforcing and we're allowing you to take ownership. Before I let you go, I put together what I thought was the all-time best offense and defense to ever play in this league, and I would like to get your thoughts. Spent a little time in this league, being back in this league.
Yes.
There are guys that obviously are left off, and if you think that somebody should be on, let me know.
No, it's great seeing Von Miller in there. I remember watching him, Roy Williams. I think he's iconic. Earl Thomas, Sue. So Sue would be played in a two technique, just head up on the guard and just whoop them. And so, just seeing that name brings back those memories of that film. And then, a fair amount of skill players here. The Vince Young game, I remember I was coaching at Cal Lutheran, and I remember, I was recruiting, and so I was actually driving during the time of the national championship game. And so I remember hearing it and the traffic of all of it, because it was out that way, and just hearing the radio call of it brings back memories. Adrian Peterson, his first game was, I think it was versus Houston. So we played him at OU, and we did not stop him. Then Justin Blackman, I remember him too. Very impressive. A lot of the O-linemen here are what you want them to look like.
I appreciate you saying that, because I took too much time thinking about that offensive line, man, and nobody's had anything to say about it. Baylor head coach Dave Aranda, thank you so much for this time, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm here with Baylor linebacker Terrel Bernard and offensive lineman Connor Galvin.
Yes, sir.
How you guys doing?
Good. Great. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so I feel like that's tailored.
For sure. Yeah.
Where, Waco?
Yeah, right outside Waco.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
It
sir.
is an inspired choice. I very much enjoy it. Big man in pink.
Classic.
Hey,
Gotcha.
that's what I'm trying to say. We be looking good in these colors.
I have to compete with him, man.
Well, he came into school colors. He's
what I'm
trying to
saying?
win.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you and I, we be coming up here just trying not to look bad. He came to win.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I'm-
Exactly.
All right. So I want to start with this. You got your first year head coach in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
What's it been like for y'all over the last few months to be able to see, talk with, meet with your coaches when we can? I understand right now we're in a different period.
Yeah, it's been really good. 2020 was definitely a weird time going through all our install meetings. Meeting coaches over Zoom for months. It was weird, but now we had our spring ball, we had winter workouts, all of our summer stuff. Just spending time together, being able to connect has been really good.
Connor, about you?
It's been nice with COVID. You couldn't do team activities and stuff like that, but now like we played dodgeball, we went to Topgolf, like we were doing like all these things as a team to help like form our bond. So I think that's helped us a lot, especially with spring ball and our off-season workouts, our summer workouts. Now it's helping us get closer.
So, Coach Aranda is a defensive-minded coach. Coach Roberts, defensive-minded coach. But when I hear Coach Aranda speak, he's always teaching me something. It's one of my favorite things about him. What's it like for him to give you this day-to-day?
Yeah, it's definitely the exact same thing that you just said. He always has a different perspective and a different outlook on things. So, I'll go up there anytime, knock on his door, go sit down with him and, just talk football. And, I'll bring a notepad and have pages full of, just things that he's talking about. And I think it's interesting just what he sees and how different it is than, what a player might see or what even other coaches might see.
Yeah, I want to get into that, but I want to start with that. Connor, what do you get out of Coach Aranda? And when you see this defense do what it's doing, how difficult is it for you to just identify who you got in a pass blocking situation, in a rushing situation?
With experience, it slows down the game, but they play fast, they play hard, they're tough, they're strong, they're fast. So you definitely have to be on like your P's and Q's to really know what's happening. They do a bunch of stuff out of a lot of formations. Lots of blitzes come from the right, the left, safeties in the middle, pretty much like the whole playbook, So you really have to study each week. So, yeah.
And as a teacher, what is he like for you?
He brings, like he said, all these perspectives that you wouldn't normally think of as a football player. So he comes at it from like all these angles, and it helps me at least from offensive side, study each week to prepare on this is how TCU likes to bring this blitz, or this is how Oklahoma likes to do this stunt. And he makes it easier for me to like prepare like that.
So I would be remiss if I did not ask you about your new offensive coordinator and Coach Grimes. I know you're getting into your second system in as many years, but what is you like about this one?
I love Coach Grimes, love Coach Mateos, but with this system, it's a wide zone system. So we are running off the ball as fast as we can every play to create as many holes as possible for the back to hit it front side, back side, up the middle, A gap. It doesn't matter, We run a lot of plays out of a lot of formations, a lot of misdirection. So I think that'll be good for us. We can go fast, we can go slow, control the clock. So there's a lot of ways this offense will help us win.
What do you see, Terrell?
Yeah, definitely what Connor just said. Going through spring ball, just getting a little taste of it and seeing, what they're going to be bringing in the fall. It's a lot of misdirection, which is one of the most difficult things on defense. Just a lot of different moving parts. So I think we'll confuse a lot of people, and then the toughness that's being instilled. Those guys are bringing it. So I'm excited to see what they do.
No, man, like your position is always one of the ones that interests me the most, because you can be right and wrong at the very same time based on what you see.
For sure.
Because depending on what your rules are, right?
For sure.
You could be right in what you're doing and be wrong because this is what the offense is doing. And I see that in Coach Grimes' offense. So the last thing I want to give you guys before we get up out of here is I took the liberty of putting together what I thought was the all-time best Big 12 offense and defense. This is in the history of the league. Take a look at it. Tell me what you think, who you would take off, who you would add. Who?
Nate Solder has.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
It's tough to argue with that.
I'm glad that you were appreciating the time I took to pick out this offensive line.
Yeah.
All right? Because nobody has anything else to say about the offensive line.
I got you.
I appreciate
I got
that.
you.
I appreciate that.
I respect Vince, man. He's a legend, but
You got to get your dude on there.
I got to get my guy on
Okay,
there, man. I got to
okay.
put him on there.
Okay. Nah,
I
can
respect the list, but
I put James Lynch on here, man.
Ooh, okay.
Come
I
on.
was wondering who's
Come
gonna
on,
say
bro.
it. All right.
James Lynch, all-time
Look,
sack leader.
I was here for it. Man scared the hell out of me. Okay. I was
Come on,
raised an
bro.
Oklahoma fan. All right, so I get to see that man coming off the edge.
Yeah.
Like, yo, hey, look, all you gotta do is block him. You block him. He said,
That's not that easy. Not
Who
that
you
easy.
taking off then? Who you taking off?
Probably Emmanuel. I don't want to say his last name.
Agba. All right.
Replace him for James Lynch.
See, don't
'cause
nobody want to come out here and say Von Miller though.
Nah,
No,
you can't replace Von
yeah,
Miller,
you
man.
can't do that. I'm not gonna lie, you can't do that.
I like that. Okay, so we got RG3 over here,
Yeah.
and we got James Lynch over here. Other than that, y'all good?
Solid with it.
Pretty solid.
I can live with that. I can
Yeah,
live with that.
for sure.
Terrel Bernard, Connor Galvin, thank you so much for doing this, guys. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.